All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. In my last video, we talked about how I don't think that the low is in and that USDT Dominance is going to make its way up to our beautiful coveted prophecy zone, 4.61%. So I guess you guys can call me the prophet or whatever in the comments, whatever you guys want. Let's talk about what I think is going to happen next, okay? So on USDT Dominance, which again, if you don't know what's been going on with USDT, just watch the channel. We've been talking about it pretty extensively. I just finished my TA now in the morning with the Nexus, but let's talk about what I think might happen next, okay? And I'm going to bring up this PO3 once again. This was my prophecy. I've been posting it on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, go follow me. The link is in the description down below, okay? And we've been talking about it on the channel, where I think that this range is going to break to the upside, where we may have our, where we may have our manipulative move up here, perhaps, into this order block, which you will see as soon as I turn my TA on, okay? And this is where your beginning of your euphoria may actually come into fruition, okay? Before we talk about how and why that might happen, we need to talk about how we even got here in the first place. So let's hide the PO3. By the way, for the PO3 idea, we do have liquidity that we can come for. So that's something that is notable, okay? Obviously, I'm looking for longs. Let's talk about how we got here. If we turn our TA back on, okay, we know that on the grand scheme of things, we're in a higher time frame range. This is an undeniable range. You have your range low, you have your range high. We know that we have a lot of liquidity being generated to the upside, whereas when it comes to the range, you don't really have a lot of liquidity to the downside, right? There's a big gap in our range right over here. So we are eventually expecting USDT Dominance to make its way up to 6.74%, which obviously means the market's going to have a huge dump, and that means that the bull market is going to be over when that happens, in my opinion, okay? So I'm not saying the bull market is over before you guys, you know, the keyboard warriors again. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when we fill this, which we likely will eventually, it'll be when the bear market happens, okay? So within our range, we are looking at our taps here. This is tap 1, this is tap 2, and this could be tap 3, okay? If this tap 3 does not happen here, it's going to happen here, which is the only reason why I'm so far not calling for the top to be in. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But we have two potential areas where our tap 3 could be. One is here. One is one level lower, potentially. Or this whole thing doesn't end up being an accumulation and crypto just pumps to infinity and beyond, which is obviously a possibility. I'm not here to say that it's not, okay? So the important thing, though, is that we're looking at this zone here, and we're looking at this zone here, okay? Now, if we zoom in, let's go on the 30-minute time frame. We can see that when we came into our first zone, right? This is our first zone. That's zone 1. This is zone 2, okay? When we came into the first zone, we actually formed a range within a range, okay? And this range very clearly has no different a 1, a 2, and a 3, okay? So this is a Model 2 accumulation that has now just hit its target, which is the range high, which is what we've been talking about, 4.61 forever. Have you typed in the comments that I'm a prophet yet? Why not? Okay. So this has the potential of being the market top. Okay. Am I saying it is? No. But does it have the potential to? Absolutely. If this Model 2 accumulation holds and we never come back to this, well then yeah, it's the bear market, right? Ever since this level, we were talking about how we could be putting in a decent high. Okay. But what allows this idea to not play out? And it is effectively my PO3 idea. So let's hide the TA again, and let's pull the PO3 idea up. Why is this important? This is important for a couple of reasons. Number one, as I indicated earlier, we do have liquidity on the low, okay? Whenever you are looking for a PO3, you are looking for a reason to come back for that range, which in this case is these 3 equal lows, okay? That said, right now, we have, if you're going to pull your structure, what's your structure? You have, we're going to skip some stuff that's not important. We have up, we have down, we have up, we have down, and we have up, okay? This is why it's important. If this starts to break higher than this general manipulation area zone that I have, then the odds of us getting something like this into our Model 1 accumulation zone, which we talked about earlier, becomes significantly less, okay? It becomes significantly less. So my idea derived from, and by the way, I had this idea about a month and a half, 2 months ago. We've been talking about this well before any of this even played out. The idea here is that you don't really want it to get too far away, okay? And the best thing that could stop you is, give or take, this order block right over here, okay? So is the dump over? I don't know. And I am open to it not being over because your range high target has officially been hit, okay? However, we need to be aware that even if it continues a lot longer, that like if this goes on a lot longer than we think, right? I said from, I don't even know, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, that I think the rest of the month is going to be red, and that I think that October, the beginning of October, perhaps is going to be red as well. So I don't know how long this is going to take if this idea is going to play out, okay? It could end up being a lot more extended than we think. But the idea is not about the time. I don't care about the time, okay? I care more about the price, or in this case, the percentages, right? I don't want this to get too far away. If this does go too far away, then I'm expecting higher low, higher high continuation, and the bull market is more likely to be over if that's going to happen. So I'm cautiously paying attention to basically until 5%-ish, okay? I'll allow it to go even a little bit higher, but that's me being like really extending it. If we're being real, we don't really want it to go beyond, let's just say 4.9%. You don't really want it to come and take this high for the idea of it being a PO3. Okay, you don't really want it to happen. There are ways where it could be extended, yes, but you don't really want it to be doing that. Okay, again, if it does do that, then we're probably looking for a higher low and then a higher high. But my idea originally was that this general zone, okay, it doesn't have to happen today, is where your euphoria begins. Okay, because everybody wants their banana zone, everybody wants their blow off top, whatever. Here, your euphoria begins. This is where your bear market begins. So, to summarize and in short, what am I looking for right now? I'm looking for a PO3. Okay, what would that look like? It would look like another range being formed up here. Okay, and it would look like probably a 10 or 15 minute market structure flip. Okay, for my retail people, it would look like inverse head and shoulders or a regular head and shoulders, or the third tap could take the high out again, something like that. Okay, I'm looking for a distribution model anywhere here. It doesn't have to even come up anymore. This could just be an SFP and roll down from here. Okay, but it's the idea where from this general zone we come down to here. This is where your euphoria is. Come and sweep this buy side liquidity. This is where the bear market begins. That's the idea. Otherwise, if we just keep pumping and the market keeps dumping from here, we're probably going to look for a higher low, and then that's probably your low for the cycle. Okay, kind of what I'm looking at right now. Let's just assume that we don't actually go higher from here, and this does end up being an SFP. Well, for me, in order to confirm my SFPs, I need to see a market structure flip. Okay, so in this case, if we're going to nullify this idea here, then I'm going to be looking for this low to go. If you start closing candles below here, candle down. If you start closing candles below here, then I do suspect we're going to make a run for this block right over here. And this is my line in the sandbox line, okay? If you start to lose 4.29%, my line in the sandbox for the bears, okay? If you start to lose 4.29% with a candle close, then I suspect that we are going to rotate all the way down to this level. Okay, if we turn our TA back on, give or take 3.66 to 3.45. Okay, so that's my line in the sandbox line. That's what I'm looking at. How is this going to transpire? I have absolutely no idea. I am going to keep you guys updated if you want me to, okay? So alongside writing in the comments that I'm a prophet, let me know if you want me to keep you guys updated on the public YouTube, because of course the Nexus gets these updates every day. But that's what I'm looking at as a whole on the market. And if you don't know what anything that I just said in this video means, enter the Nexus.com. Links in the description down below. I teach you exactly how I trade. You get to see how I do this on a regular basis. And guys, I've been spot on. I haven't seen anybody else post this. I didn't see anybody else post this. Everybody was trying along. I didn't see anybody else post this. Okay. I also have other USDT videos in this playlist, I'm gonna put it in the same playlist, so go watch those ones. If you don't know how this works, I'm not gonna go over the whole thing because I already have videos on that, but go watch those videos. And that's basically what I'm looking at right now, my friends. That's it for me. Hope you are happy, healthy, wealthy, trade safe, be good, and one love. You hold